Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. As you saw in the thumbnail today, Rio 28 gauge, what's in the box. So these are Rio 2 3/4 inch, 1 ounce loads. So they're, a heavy for gauge type of load, 7.5 shot. So as usual on what's in the box, we'll get over here, break this thing down, see what it's made out of. I got some footage of shooting and patterning these things. We'll take a look at the patterns as usual, and then we'll discuss it a little bit after that. So come on over. All right. So Rio game loads, 2 3/4 inch max dram, which is kind of an old term for pretty much a heavy charge, 1,200 feet per second, 1 ounce load, 7.5 shot. This is the model number RCH V2875. You can still find these online, and they may be offered local to you too. So let's open him up here, and I've shot a bunch of these actually. So let's get one we can kind of read. So on the shell, 28 gauge, 1 ounce, 7.5 shot, Rio game load, pretty much it. The base of the hull it just says 28, and it has a single star, right? So let's open this little guy up and see what's going on here. All right, let's get this shot in here. We're looking for 437 grains, right? Oh my gosh. I don't know if you guys can see it. 436.7. Ding, 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 we have a winner. That's probably the closest to weight that I've ever seen on a factory load. The shot is true to size, so it's American 7.5. This isn't like 8.5. It looks like it's a coated, like graphite coated shot. It's a pretty good looking shot. Of course, I don't know if what the hardness and that kind of stuff is. I did see one little, looks like one little, there he is, one little flattened one. Of course, that's probably from the mechanism that closes off the shot that meters the weight. I'm sure that's how they load this stuff, is by weight. All right, so that's encouraging. We actually have an ounce of shot. I'm not gonna get them, for 0.4 grains, right? All right, so let's get this wad out of here and see what that is. All right. Well, guess what, folks? It's the same Gualandi wad that you, me, and anyone else can purchase. It's a little mangled just because of me trying to get it out of the hull. But, yeah. Basically, if you're looking at BPI's website, this would be their HV28 wad, okay? Now, let's look at powder. What kind and how much? All right, interesting powder. It actually almost looks like it's a stick powder, right? Let me make sure it's all out of there. 23.1 grains of some kind of, extruded type powder, it looks like. Okay, now the hull, let's talk about this hull real quick. Oh don't know if you can see down in there, but that might give you a good look at that. So these holes have 1 star. A lot of times people, when they see stars, they think Cheddite, but there's something that went through with Rio, I think a few years back. I think at one point they did use Cheddite holes, but I think they've since farmed out their holes to Fiocchi. And let me tell you why. Fiocchi holes, I'm sorry, let me back up. Rio holes were thought to have had a lot more volume than a lot of other 28 gauge holes. That was kind of the thought in the 2010s, 15s, right? But as I was purchasing these holes, because I wanted larger volume holes, yes, they were larger volume initially, but what happened is I have another case of these. They're the same exact load, but they're number 6s, right? Instead of number 7.5s. Well, lo and behold, look what kind of hull these guys have. And look, this is a Rio. It's basically the same thing, except this is a number 6 shot. But if you can see that hull, it clearly says Fiocchi 28, and it has a little Fiocchi stamp. So Fiocchi changed their hulls from a dark base wad in the around 2010, 2012. They switched their base wad from a dark base wad that actually had like a hump in it to this white dished base wad. That's what these holes are, right? And I think that's why people had the misconception that the Rios were, had a lot more volume. Well, they weren't misconceived. It was true. They did have more volume, but it wasn't a Rio specific hull. It was actually the newer base wad Fiocchi. So now all Fiocchi hulls that you buy, from now all the way back to about 2016, 17, 18, have the newer large volume base wad. So anyway, as far as reloads, these jokers are great. I'm getting 6, 7, 8 reloads out of these, and that's with, pretty high pressure, full Magnum Send cartridges. All right, let's go pattern these things and see what they look like. Rio, 7.5 shot, 1 ounce, 40 yards, cylinder choke. Rio improved cylinder, 40 yards, 1 ounce, 7.5 shot. Oh, modified choke, 40 yards, 7.5 shot, 1 ounce. Rio, 1 ounce, 7.5, improved modified, 40 yards. Rio, 7.5, 1 ounce, 40 yards, full choke. All right, folks, let's take a look at these patterns. Again, this is 40 yards. This is a 30-inch circle that I drew around the densest part of the pattern, or the part of the pattern where most of the shot the most shot would fit in that circle. Now, I didn't count all the numbers on this, but you'll be able to see pretty well what's going on. So this is cylinder choke, right? At 40 yards. It's a pretty good poke for cylinder choke, but hey, we have these available, so let's take a look at it. Pretty sparse pattern, big holes all through. There is a good number of shot in that pattern though, but there's also a bunch of it everywhere else. So, as we would expect with cylinder choke, It's neat to look at, but we would probably never use it. So let's look at improved cylinder. Okay, improved cylinder, getting a little bit better. Now remember, this is 40 yards. This isn't 30, 35. So a lot more shot. There's 215 pellets on this piece of pattern paper right now. This load only has about 340 pellets in it, which is a good number of pellets. So we've got a little bit of, holes here and there. But again, we're starting to see small core maybe. We do have a kind of a halo shot around the outside of this. So improved cylinder is probably still not the best at 40 yards. So let's look at what modified is going to do for us. All right. Now we're getting somewhere, right? So this is 255 shot on the sheet here. And, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, most of them are inside this circle. Now we're starting to get a real nice core, pretty dense pattern all the way throughout the 30 inches. Little tiny open spots here and there. But again, if you've got a pheasant flying through this, a dove, we're starting to get where we could do some good stuff here, right? So modified choke, 255. So let's take a look at improved modified. All right, improved modified. I'm just going to go ahead and say this is better than the modified. We've got 269 pellets on the whole entire board. This is the 30-inch circle that carries the most pellets. Could I have moved this thing down a little bit, but I would have lost some up here. So again, it's pretty dense in the middle. There is a little smaller holes, but there are some little openings in here. So far, that looks like to me probably the best pattern so far. Let's take a look at full and see if it's going to show us anything better. All right. Well, it's kind of disappointing, folks. There's only 244 pellets on the whole entire pattern paper. So we've lost about 10 pellets there somehow or another. We do have the core. You can see that full choke core, but you can also see where this thing's kind of blown out. So I would bet that, this shot or this round does not like full choke, and not the full choke in this gun at least, meaning it blew out. Hole, 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 hole. And as I say that, we could pattern another shell right after this, and it could look completely different, or these things could open up even, and be more even. We don't know, haven't done that, may do some of that in the future. But anyway, that's the chokes through this gun. Let's go back to the bench and we'll finish up. All right, what's y'all's thoughts on the Rio 7.5? It's got a lot of good things going for it. One is, I think it's probably the closest to its actual stated weight of any factory ammo we've tested. I know that, well, every factory load pretty much at this point has come in just a little bit light. Some by a few grains, but some by measurable, 1/16 of an ounce or so. So anyway, it's got a lot of shot. The shot looks good. The shot is uniform. I'd say it's probably not any kind of super hard Magnum shot, because if it was, it probably would say that on there. It's not buffered or anything like that. The components of the shell are pretty much, well, other than the powder, we should be able to load something very, very similar to that, because we have the exact same components available to us. And I say the exact, we don't have that shot because we don't know where it came from. So we can't duplicate that, but we can get real dang close. And the powder, now that may be some type of European powder that is available to us that I'm just not aware of. If you've seen what looks like that kind of stick powder, let me know. Put it in the comments down below. So reloadability, The hull, to me, is going to load like a Fiocchi hull. Tons of data, super desirable. Now, expense of these shells, again, shells compared to 2019 are wildly expensive to me. But I did find a couple of places online where these shells, this exact model, today, which is December the 21st, 22nd, 2024, are $14.99 before shipping. Keep that in mind. Some places will give you some free shipping if it's over a certain amount, so you might want to go in and get a case of them. Some places, they really stick it to you on shipping, right? It's up to you to determine what it's worth you to pay for shipping. I know for me, I probably pay too much for shipping, but guess what? If it's coming from halfway across the country and I can't get it locally, you know, I'll give them half a tank of gas worth of money to send it to my house. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, about $15 a box. Rio, that brand, a lot of distributors, like local distributors, will send these to hardware stores, local gun shops, local pawn, ammunition, gun shop type places. So this is something that you might see at those type places. You won't really see it much like at Academy or Bass Pro or things like that. But you can definitely buy them online, that's for sure. And I've done this in the past. If you have trouble finding Fiocchi new hulls, sometimes it's worth it to go ahead and bite that bullet and get you a case of loaded ammo. Use it for practice, hunt with it, and take those hulls and make your reloads out of them. The once-fired hulls are always going to be a little bit easier to crimp, and sometimes they're easier to work with, right? But if you have access to new hulls, then by all means use those too. So I think it patterned pretty good. I'm not overly impressed with it, but I'm not angrily upset with it either. I think improved modified obviously was going to be the best choke. Modified could even turn out to be about the same or almost as close. Full choke, I think we are getting some blowout, and you'll see that with some loads. They just blow out on you. Also velocity, I'm pretty sure if on the chrono, if you look on the video, these things are they're shooting 1190, 12 something, so they're pretty close to the 1200 feet per second range. So they're very honest with that too. But anyway, that's pretty much it about the Rio 1 ounce, 2 3/4 inch, 7.5 shot. I have done a few 1 ounce loads from different manufacturers. What I may do is go back. Believe it or not, I have all these patterns still in my shop. I might go back and maybe do a video comparing all of the 1 ounce loads, commercial loads, just to kind of see, you know, which one patterned the best. I would have to go back and look and see if I shot them all out of the same gun and all that kind of stuff. It may be too many variables to make it even worth any sense, but I might do that. I also have Herders 1 ounce coming up. I also have Federals 1 ounce offering. I have that coming up. You might be able to see those right behind me. No, the Federals over there. The Herders is right there. So I've got those patterns that I need to mark up, and we can do a what's in the box of those too. The Herders. The Herders that sold through Cabela's and Bass Pro, kind of exciting. If you like black Winchester hulls, you might want to take a look at the Herders. And by the way, the 410s are black too. So that means we'll have a black 410 AAHS 3-inch hull to load. See what I'm getting at? It's going to be nice. Anyway, so thank y'all for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.